Okay, so I have decided to record myself sketchbooking. I recently participated in Sketchbook Revival, and there were a lot of great sessions, but one that really seemed to have a big effect for me and kind of made the whole idea of consistent sketchbook practice click for me was the workshop by Sally Swindell. She started by having us pick colored pencils at random and make little triangle swatches. And then within those swatches, we would choose a color palette of 5 colors, preferably colors that were touching. And in the workshop, she didn't have us write the names down, so we had to try to remember which colors were which. I'm not so good at that. So when I made my own separately, I wrote all the colors down. I'm going to finish this set of swatches and probably make a square. But I got partway through and got excited about some of the color combinations, and I really wanted to try things. So my last sketchbook page, I used these colors, and I did, let's see if I did. What did I do? I did. This was the one I did in the workshop. Probably too zoomed in here. That's the one I did in the workshop. Then I did this on my own. Wasn't too crazy about that page. This one was fun. This is the one I did with that particular set of colors. It's kind of random, and the idea is to fill up the page. She was very prescriptive and actually told us exactly which elements to draw, but the idea behind it was that you can then take that approach and use it to help yourself decide what you want to draw and just fill the page. And I've been using this piece of chipboard behind the page that I'm drawing on just so I don't make indentations in the next page. These are some really, really cheap sketchbooks that I got on Amazon. Pack of 24 books for $20, so about 83 cents a piece. It's really not much more than bond paper, so it's only suitable for dry media. But I really like working in cheap sketchbooks because if a sketchbook is expensive at all, I freak out and I just don't want to use it. But I made one last night because I wanted a square book. In the workshop, Sally's sketchbook was square, and you can buy hers online. It was Vanrtto, and it's on Amazon. It's about $15, and I think it has 120 pages, 60 sheets. But again, when I spend money on sketchbooks, I don't know, I get apprehensive about using them. So I made this one last night, and again, this is just copy paper. It's a little bit heavier. It's got a real smooth finish. It was recommended by another artist for working with ink, but I really like it for colored pencils. So put this together last night. I Googled how to bind your own sketchbook. I had some chipboard on hand, so I made covers. I spent, an hour and a half on it. So yeah. My goal is to spend half an hour a day, probably not every single day, 7 days a week, but at least 5 days a week is the goal. So I'm going to set my timer. I want to work on this for half an hour. I want to give it at least 30 minutes, but I don't want to spend so much time that I feel like I'm neglecting other things I ought to be doing, or feel like, oh, I spent an hour on it yesterday. That means I have to spend an hour on it today. So 30 minutes is a good chunk of time. It leaves me wanting more. It doesn't feel overwhelming. I'm picking a new color palette today. I'm kind of liking that bright color right there. Dare I try a bright color? Sure, why not? Let's see. What do I want to combine it with? Do I want that yellow? Do I want... Oh, you know what I kind of like? You know what? I kind of like 1, 2, 3, 4, and this light orange color. Okay. So what do we have here? That is it's the 6th. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Salmon pink. I put all of the colors that I used into a Ziploc bag just to separate them from the remaining colors as I was grabbing things blindly. Oh, I think that's it right there. There we go. Salmon pink. And let's see. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4. Plain old purple. Here we go. Plain old purple. And after purple is Celadon green. I don't even know what Celadon is. There we are. And after Celadon green is light peach. Deco peach. And that looks more like pink. That's pink. Alright, where are you, light peach? There's beige. Okay, light peach, and then this vibrant color. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That's the 6th one. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Mulberry. All right. And here we are. Okay. Dog hair on my sketchbook. Okay. And one of the things she had us do was start at the top and put our little swatch there. This paper is pretty smooth. So you can't really do any layering. I probably should get my soft brush that I have for brushing away the dust of my art materials. Oh, smearing a little bit. That's all right. You're not really supposed to blow it. You're not supposed to blow particles into the air, but what can I say? I'm not always good at the supposed is. Yeah, I actually like this combination. A lot of these colors I'm finding out aren't all that light fast. Doesn't matter in a sketchbook. Partly because you don't really need your sketchbook to last forever, I guess. But also it's going to be closed. It's not going to be subjected to light unless I decide I like a piece enough I want to put it where I can look at it. Yeah, that's an interesting color combination. I like this way of picking out colors. So many combinations I would not have thought to put together. It is kind of smeary though. Next time I'll use the brush. All right, so she had us start out playing with scale, and she had us draw a house and then put a real big bird on top of it, which was fun. And so I've played with scale a little bit. I did that. Let's see. What did I do? I did that. This was the one she had us do. What did I do here? Well, I did another house and a bird. It's a very wonky house. A large seagull on his little rowboat. And I also started on this one, I started with a prompt of cactus. I will share some links of the places that I have found to use as resources for prompts. There are a lot of artists who share lists, and I'll link to some of those. But anyway, the prompt was cactus, and I thought, how can I play with scale? And I thought, well, I've drawn a couple of houses. Let me draw something else. So I put it on top of a car. And then all of the other pieces just kind of came from that. The car's driving. Well, what are they going to see? They're going to see signs. They're obviously in the desert because they have a cactus. So I drew some animals you might see in the desert. Some more cactus. Sally also recommended drawing things in 3s or 5s. It tends to be a little more interesting than even numbers of objects. Not sure what the psychological thing is there that makes that the case, but anyway. So 3 clouds, 3 hot air balloons, 3 cactuses in the foreground. I've got 3 different animals. So anyway, okay, let's see. Spending a lot of time talking, but that's okay. Some of these pages that I've done have taken me 2 days at half an hour a piece. So I'm going to draw just a big butterfly. So she had to start in the middle and work outward. And I'm trying really hard not to judge what I'm doing. I, for quite a while now, have been wanting to get back to that feeling and that approach of drawing when you're a kid. And you just sit down like a little kid, not when you get to the stage where you think, oh, I gotta make everything look real. But when you're a little kid and you just kind of sit down with your art materials and you start making marks. And maybe you don't really have a plan. And you probably aren't super judgmental about what you draw. I don't remember being judgmental about anything that I made when I was really small. You get older and you start getting really dependent on that eraser. And then you get judgy. I'm really trying to enjoy the process, to treat it like a learning experience. You know, I've drawn some things in these sketchbook pages, and I've only been doing this for about a week for this particular approach, that is. I mean, I've made so many attempts at regular sketchbooking, and I just know it's really making kind of an ugly shadow. I might have to move my lighting around a little bit. I've drawn some things that make me say, yuck. But I've also drawn some things that make me say yuck at first. I drew some little foxes on the last page I did. And at first I was just like, oh my God, they're so awkward. It's not what a fox looks like. And then they just grew on me. And I found something to like about them. But, you know, even if you don't like what you draw, it's a chance to examine why you don't like it. What don't you like about it? What would you change? What do you want to do differently next time? But I think the biggest thing I'm getting out of this is it's just satisfying that urge to draw really spontaneously. And because it's satisfying that urge, I'm finding it easier to get some enjoyment out of the work that requires more planning. you know, the more finished work that has to be, you have to consider all of the things, the values, the composition in general, you know, where everything goes, and am I leading the eye through the composition, and is my strongest value contrast at the most important? And having to do all of that and sort of taken some of that spontaneous fun, the joy, out of just making marks. And I don't know why I struggled so much. Again, you really shouldn't blow. I gotta get that brush out. I like the Prismacolors. They're nice and soft, so they really lay down good color. I like to, when I'm using a pencil sharpener like this that doesn't have a catcher of its own, I just sharpen into a plastic bag. It's also convenient when you have to, when you're not at home. I used to draw on my lunch break at work. I know my chatter is all over the place here, but, well, that's just life. Let's just pretend that this is just, we're just hanging out. Just hanging out, and we're talking about drawing, and we're talking about our art supplies, and why we like to draw, all of the challenges. See, now there's a part of me that wants to judge this butterfly and say, oh, it's kind of a boring butterfly. I've seen plenty of butterflies. They're more interesting than that. Let's see. I feel like I want to draw some more small butterflies. Let's start with, let's make a, maybe this one's a moth, not a butterfly. I don't know, are there green butterflies? You know how butterflies have sometimes, well, and other animals too, they have markings that look like eyes, and supposedly, right, it scares off predators or something, because what, they think it's a bigger animal, or they think it's looking at them or something. But I've always wondered, like, how do animals know even what eyes are? Okay, I keep blowing, I'm not supposed to. Oh yeah, I'm getting lots of stuff all over. Oh, that's all right. You know what? I'm not even going to fill that in. I kind of like it just a line drawing. Yeah, I got to get that brush. Okay. Let's see if the eraser will pick any of it up. Colored pencils are not generally known for erasing well, but who knows? Just to get rid of the smudges. Okay. All right. And what else? Okay. Let's make another little one. Why am I whispering? You can't hear me if I whisper. I tend to talk to myself a lot, and I think that's why I whisper. I don't always like my pencils super sharp. Let's see. Let's do some green markings. Yeah, I don't always like my pencils super sharp because sometimes, well, a lot of the time, I like a nice thick line. But there's a limit, you know? At some point you gotta stop and sharpen. I think I will fill this in, see how this looks. Sniffling. I told myself I wasn't going to sniffle while I was recording, but I don't know. I just seem to have a perpetual case of the sniffles. So there's a lot of ways to use a sketchbook, you know? I mean, you could be using it to really refine the way that you draw, I know when I took a figure drawing class, we were supposed to draw, you know, fill up a certain number of pages every, you know, semester or whatever of people or parts. I drew a lot of hands. Well, now I feel like maybe this butterfly over here should be filled in. Oh, well, that didn't go so well. I got little bits everywhere. I think that's the downside to this smooth paper is it really doesn't have any tooth to speak of. So if I'm putting you know what? I'm going to leave that because I really do like it. It doesn't stand out as much as the others, but I'll put some other stuff around it and maybe it will, yeah, we'll make up for it. Okay. All right. I'm going to sharpen this. I have a few harder pencils. I have some Polychromos Faber-Castell. I assume I'm pronouncing that right. I don't know. They're oil-based instead of wax-based. They're a little bit harder than these. They don't have to be sharpened quite as often. I really like this square sketchbook, but now, I don't know, this smooth paper, it's not working as well as I did before. I tried growing milkweed. I have no idea if this is what milkweed looks like, but and I just don't have a green thumb and I could not keep it alive. It tried really hard to survive in spite of me. It kept looking like it was dying and coming back, but ultimately it just could not survive my lack of gardening skills. This looks kind of more like the buds on our crepe myrtle, I think. Kind of wish I had another green, but I guess I don't need it. I have to learn to just work with what I've got. Let's see. Okay, I will draw like the same thing again and just do it in a different color. Just do two this time. used a lot of my half hour, I think. Talking. I'll maybe talk less next time. I haven't even used this one. It's very light. Very light. Reminds me of something sort of cottony. How about some leaves? I said I was going to put a link in the description of something, and I already forgot what that link was going to be. Guess I'll have to go back and listen to my own video. I know I wanted to put a link to Sketchbook Revival. Today is October 10th, and I think you can still, they've released all the sessions, but I think you can still sign up and watch until the 19th. So yeah, I would really urge anyone who hasn't watched, get in there and yeah, watch all of the sessions that sound good to you. But I just really, something about Sally's session really spoke to me. And I guess you can also buy VIP access, and then you can watch the videos forever, I guess. But I think I have taken what I need from them. Okay, so let's see. I'm going to look at some of the things that she suggested that we draw. I made little notes. Let's see. Oh, she had us draw some fruit. We drew a lemon under the house, and then later we drew some strawberries. Oh, she also had us do a little border. Okay, so maybe some fruit. What kind of fruit should I draw? How about an apple, maybe? We'll draw a green apple. I like green apples. I like Granny Smith apples. A lot of people don't like them, I think, partly because they're tart and partly because they're kind of a little bit of a tough skin, but I don't know, it doesn't bother me. I don't know if that's a weird color for apple flesh, but you know what? It doesn't matter because I'm only drawing it. I'm not actually going to eat it. Yeah. I don't know. I might have to make another, if I want a square sketchbook, I might either have to spring for a store-bought one or I honestly really like just that lightweight bond paper in those cheap sketchbooks I got from Amazon. Maybe I can get some 11 by 17 just regular bond paper with a little more tooth. You know what other paper I really liked? That was good for colored pencil. It was a little rough, but it also held up well to just a little bit of wet media. It was just this sulfite drawing paper that I got on Dick Blick. It was not a very heavy paper, but it tolerated some light washes pretty well. Okay, and she had us do just like a pattern of teardrops around the lemon that we drew. So I think I'm going to do that too. Let's see. And they weren't all like falling down. Some of them were upside down as well. Like so. My teardrops aren't all that teardrop shaped. I hope my head's not in the way. I hope I'm not leaning too far forward. I can't see the top of the phone to see the camera. I'm not like spending any extra money on this setup for filming. At least not yet. We'll see if I stick with it. I'm a little apprehensive about sharing. We'll see how it goes. While I draw some teardrops, I'll think about what else can I draw in here. I kind of like to keep it sort of on a theme. It doesn't have to be. Sometimes it gets kind of narrative and sometimes it doesn't. Look at my squawking seagull or the person with the cactus on their car. I never figured out if they were taking the cactus home or maybe the cactus was at home. It got so big they couldn't keep it anymore, so they were taking it back to the desert. I think that might be what was happening. Okay, I'm going to come back and finish teardrops. What else can we put in here? I feel like this is sort of an outdoorsy theme. What else is outdoors? Maybe some birds. I will admit sometimes I'm not too sure about the shape of something I want to draw, so I might actually kind of sketch it on a separate piece of paper first. I won't do that here. I have drawn the occasional bird, so I think I can satisfactorily draw something birdish. Okay. And let's give him some little feet. Those are not the best bird feet, but you know what? We're not here for the best. We're here to try. Okay. My 30-minute timer went off. I want to give him a little branch to stand on. And a wing. You know what? I'm going to give him, I don't know why it's a him, I'm going to give them little bit of whatever these blossoms are to stand on. Here, let's combine my pinky purples. Or my purples. My pinky purple and my not so pinky purple. Okay. Well, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to stop there so that I don't feel pressure to do more than half an hour next time. And hope that this is a post-worthy video. And if it's not, I might post it anyway and we'll just see how I can improve later on.